I found myself sitting alone late last night, the kind of night where the silence has a physical weight to it, like a blanket made of cold air. In those hours when the rest of the world has retreated into the soft safety of sleep, I often feel the strange, rhythmic pressure of time passing. It's a sensation we all know, even if we don't have a name for it. This feeling that we are constantly running toward a horizon that never actually arrives. We live our lives as if we are trying to cross a vast, precarious bridge, hurried and anxious, convinced that our real life is somewhere just ahead, while death remains a dark, distant shore we must avoid at all costs. But as I sat there, watching the shadows stretch across the floor, I began to realize that this very distance, the separation we meticulously create between life and death, is the source of our deepest, most unnameable suffering. We have committed a monumental error in our thinking. We have pulled death out of our lives. We have treated it as an intruder, a failure of biology, or a terrifying endpoint. And in doing so, we have escaped from reality itself. We spend our energy building walls against the inevitable, trying to distinguish the act of living from the act of dying, as if they were two different things. Yet, the more we try to run from the bondage of death, the more we find ourselves trapped in its net. We are like prisoners who build our own cells out of thoughts and expectations, terrified of the very thing that gives life its shape. Think about the gate of death for a moment. We think we're walking toward it, but the truth is, we are already inside the garden it protects. What if the thing we are running from, this end we fear so much, is actually the only thing that can make us feel truly alive? We live in a self-constructed prison of thought, a fragmented world where we are constantly at war with the truth of our own nature. We think that by ignoring the gate, we are choosing life, but the reality is that life and death are one. They are inseparable, like the two sides of a coin or the inhale and exhale of a single breath. By pushing one away, we have effectively paralyzed the other. We are left wandering in a desert of our own making, waiting for a future that doesn't exist, while the beauty of the present moment slips through our fingers like sand. This misunderstanding creates a prison of the mind, a place where we are so busy becoming that we have forgotten how to simply be. We are often told that the solution to our problems lies in more thinking, more analysis, and more intellectual effort. We believe that if we can just find the right conceptual system, the right philosophy, or the right expert to follow, we will finally find peace. But come closer, and let me share a secret. Our current intellectual approach is not the cure. It is the very source of the struggle. Our brains have become clogged. They are stuffed full of data, memories, judgments, and conceptual residue, leaving no internal space for us to actually see the world as it is. We are like people trying to clean a room by bringing in more and more furniture. We ask, how should we do it better? Or, what should I do to stop? But as the wise have observed, wanting to change is actually getting worse while we are still asking and doing the same thing. The very act of asking how implies a movement of the mind that keeps us trapped in the same repetitive cycle. It's an intellectual greed, a constant accumulation of knowledge that acts as a barrier between us and the truth. This is the tragedy of the finger pointing at the moon. We have become obsessed with the finger, the words, the theories, the logic, and the ideal systems we use to explain reality, and we completely miss the moon itself. We worship the pointers and the teachers, verifying our thoughts against their words, because we do not trust our own capacity to see. We seek wisdom as if it were a higher level of a video game, something to be achieved by piling up experiences and degrees. But true knowledge is not an accumulation. It is knowing the not know. It is a realization that our thinking mind no matter how powerful, cannot conceive the immensity of reality. When we try to use thought to find truth, we are merely moving from one conceptual cage to another, decorating the walls and calling it progress. We are, in many ways, socially sick. We use our mental potential only to serve our self-interests, turning our gaze toward the external world of status and acquisition because we are afraid to look at the hollow, quiet space inside ourselves. We have lost the art of being critical of our own thoughts. We jump from one ideal to another, never realizing that the bridge we're trying to build to the truth is made of the same illusions we are trying to escape. We are so full of answers that we have no room for the truth. To understand why we feel so fragmented, we have to look at the architecture of our own suffering, which is built on the foundation of duality. Duality is a divisive way our mind sees the world. Black and white, good and bad, life and death, self and other. Our thinking mind creates these pairs, these opposite poles, and then forces us to choose one side while fearing the other. But there is no truth in duality. Truth is a oneness that encompasses everything, yet we insist on breaking it into pieces so we can manage it. This fragmentation is most obvious in how we perceive time. Thought creates time by pulling data from the past to create a projected image of the future. We are never truly in the now because our brain is too busy vibrating with the energy of what used to be and what might be. Consider the simple act of traveling, say, from Cambodia to Vietnam. We believe we are moving through physical space, crossing a distance over a period of time. But if we look closely at the mind during that journey, we see something else entirely. We aren't really traveling through space. We are traveling through the brain. The Cambodia is a data point in our memory, and Vietnam is a projection of a goal in our mind. The distance between them is a mental construct. We are moving from one thought form to another, using our brain energy to simulate a reality that we think we are experiencing. In this sense, the past, the present, and the future are just vibrations of brain energy. The future is often just the past reconfigured and dressed in new clothes. Because we do not know the moment right now, we try to find it by thinking about it, which only creates more time. We are like a person chasing their own shadow. The faster we run toward the present, the further it stays away, because our very running is what creates the distance. When this internal vibration stops, when the brain stops trying to bridge the gap between here and there, the illusion of time collapses. It is only in that stillness that something far more beautiful and real begins to emerge, a reality that doesn't need to be reached because it was never actually left. When the vibration of memory ceases to define the moment, the distance between you and the world vanishes. There is a profound turning point in this journey, and it requires a shift that most of us find terrifying, moving from the state of knowing to the state of not knowing. In our society, we equate intelligence with the amount of information we hold. We are afraid of being ignorant, of being empty, of being the one who says, "I do not know." But the wise person possesses a different kind of bravery. They are brave enough to be like a hollow trash bin. Think about that metaphor for a moment. A trash bin is only useful when it is empty. If it is full of garbage, it can no longer fulfill its purpose. It becomes a heavy, stagnant object. The wise person is someone who has retreated to the backyard of life, leaving behind the clutter of knowledge and experience to become an empty shell. They rest in that hollowness. The fool, on the other hand, is terrified of this emptiness. The fool is afraid of being inferior or ignorant. And so they keep stuffing their minds with more theories and more truths borrowed from others. They use their knowledge as a shield to protect their ego, never realizing that the shield is what prevents them from touching reality. The death of thought is not a literal end of thinking, but a death of the identity we build through thought. It is a death into oneself. When you are no longer trying to be someone who knows something, you are suddenly free to hear the voice of the early morning birds or the sound of the evening waves without the interference of your own judgments. To be empty is to be available. It is to have the space for truth to enter. We have spent our lives trying to be full of status, full of ideas, full of me, but it is only the empty vessel that can be filled by the actual presence of life. This is the ultimate form of intelligence. The capacity to look at oneself and admit that the I, me, mine ego is just a collection of old data. When we dare to look at the fact that our self is a hollow construction, we stop being afraid of the void. We find that the emptiness isn't a lack of something. It is a state of being as it is, unburdened and free. It is the silence between the notes that makes the music possible. These metaphysical shifts aren't just abstract ideas to be discussed over coffee. They change the way we interact with every single thing and person in our lives. It changes how we listen and how we love. Most of the time when we listen to someone, we aren't really listening. We are busy verifying their words against our own beliefs, or we are waiting for our turn to speak, or we are judging their logic. This is not listening. It is a defensive reaction. Real listening is what we call withdrawing one's own idea to create a gap. It is about being silent enough that there is a space between the thoughts. When you listen this way, you aren't just hearing words. You are touching the reality of the other person. You aren't trying to solve them or fit them into your conceptual system. You are simply there in the gap. This is the only way true love is possible. We often mistake attachment or the need for a shelter for love. We find someone who makes us feel warm like a blanket, and we cling to them because we are afraid of the cold loneliness of our own minds. But that isn't love, it's dependency. We must be careful of the saviors in our lives, those who create systems where we must depend on them for our warmth. True love only emerges when the I, me, mine ego is absent. As long as I see myself as a seeker and you as the goal, or me as a savior and you as the victim, I am still living in duality. I am still using you to define myself. But if I can look at a flower or a partner without the filter of thought, if the seer is not separated from the seen, then there is no other to be found. There is only a state of being. We don't need hustle advice or complicated techniques to find this. It is as simple as resting. It is the essence of Vipassana, not as a psychological exercise or meditation course, but as the act of seeing nature as it is. When you see a flower without thinking about its name, its price, or how it makes you look, you are finally touching the flower. When you can be with another person without your ideas of them getting in the way, you are finally loving them. It is a process of letting go of this self so that reality can finally breathe. Imagine for a moment that you are standing on a beach. The day is ending and the sun is beginning its slow, magnificent descent toward the horizon. The sky turns into a canvas of colors, burnt orange, deep violet, and a gold So bright it feels like a memory of something ancient. In that moment, if you are truly present, you don't feel the need to explain the sunset. You don't feel the need to photograph it to prove you were there. Nor do you feel the need to achieve anything to be worthy of it. You simply witness it. This is the one big idea I want you to carry with you. Death is not the enemy of life. It is its very beauty. We spend our lives terrified of the end, but it is the ending of our old thoughts, our old attachments, and our old identities that allows us to see the world as it truly is. As the Source tells us, one who clearly and fully sees oneself can see the beauty of the world, and that seeing is only possible when you have witnessed the death of your own thought. You don't need to reach for some ultimate reality or wait for a future world to be happy. There is no bridge to cross because there is no distance between you and the truth. You are already standing on it. The only thing in your way is the shadow of your own I. To die into oneself is to realize that you are not the collection of data, memories, and names that you've been carrying around. You are the space in which all those things happen. You are the stillness that remains when the noise of the thinking mind fades away. When you stop trying to be the person who knows, you become the person who is. And in that state of being, everything is enough. You can live perfectly in nature, in the flowers, and in the sound of evening waves. You can feel the warmth of life precisely because you have accepted the reality of death. When you stop pulling life and death apart, you find a sense of completion that no amount of achievement could ever provide. You are no longer a fragment of a person running through a fragmented world. You are part of the whole. You don't need to do anything to be whole. You only need to die to the prison of your old thoughts and wake up to the reality that is already here, right now. As the day ends and the light fades over the sea, remember that the sunset is only beautiful because the day is ending. Life is only full because it is finite. When life and death are in oneness, it is finally perfectly full.